Hello and welcome back to our kitchen. This is a new episode of the Geek Recipe. Our guest today is Carolin Wendt, International Lead Community at CD PROJEKT RED. Carolin?
Hi.
Did I say everything right?
Meet you. Yes, everything perfect. Nice to meet you.
And nice welcome to our kitchen. Carolin.
Yes.
The format,
Yes.
we cook some Italian recipe here today, whilst we talk about, what makes something entertaining.
Okay.
And we're going to delve into your role and all the stuff you've worked on, and it's fascinating, so I can't wait for doing that. What we're cooking today, we're cooking cannelloni with a cheese and mushroom filling.
I already see like 5 types of cheese, so I'm
Yes.
already very excited.
Are you a cheese person?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Very
good.
heavy cheese person.
Okay, how you cooking? You cook at home?
I do.
Okay,
Cool.
cool.
Not great, but happily.
Okay, that's what we want. That's what we
Yes.
want. So, what does international lead committee mean in
I think the first important thing is it means something different wherever you go and to whoever you talk to. So in my case, it means that we have a big community team at CD PROJEKT RED, and I lead. Now I have to count. Currently 8 people.
Okay.
That are across across the whole world, from basically Brazil to Japan.
Okay.
That are handling our local communities, and I'm leading them at the moment, which is challenging and fun, and that's a big challenge. I've been doing it for roughly 2 years now, and before that I was actually doing community management for the German-speaking region for CDPR, because I am German. That's why my name is so complicated to pronounce. And that is very fun. So what it means at CDPR, that's how we abbreviate our very long company name. What it means is that we get in touch with our developers, of course, about how they want to communicate the game.
Okay.
And what features are important, what do they care about, what's their vision. At the same time, we also talk to our community about what do they care about, what are their expectations, because sometimes, it's not really aligned.
Okay.
And we always call ourselves the bridge. So the bridge between the developers and the community.
Now, just out of curiosity, and it's interesting you say, because it works differently in every company. So your main point of contact is not the publishing, is the development within the...
No, so that's even more complicated.
Okay.
So at CDPR we have it's called IMC, so Integrated Marketing Communications Team.
Okay.
Because we are one of the, I don't want to say one of the few, because I'm sure there's many I missed, but we are a developer that has all the publishing in-house. So we have marketing and brand and graphic design and community in-house, and we're one very big team. So we have it all in-house. So my main point of contacts are still, our PR team, our communications team.
Do another one.
Another one, nice. But then at the same time, we talk a lot with our release team, our QA team, our tech support team, or now we call it player experiences team, actually, because their responsibilities have changed over the years as well. And then we also talk a lot with developers. So actually, I think we talk to almost everyone, which makes the role super fascinating, at least for me.
And yeah, I mean, this is interesting because it's kind of fascinating, the fact that CDPR works on games that are not live service, but they are live service in a way.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we don't call ourselves live service games, and I don't think we are, but we like to support them for a long time.
Yeah.
But mostly for free. So what we do is that in the case of The Witcher 3, we had 2 expansions, right? In the case of Cyberpunk, we had 1 expansion, Phantom Liberty. But then all the patches and updates are for free. And then a lot of DLCs are free as well. So, yeah.
But that means that you're continuing to work and to listen to the community.
Yes.
Not because you want... what's the main purpose? Is it to improve the game just for...
I mean, the main purpose is that every developer wants as many people as possible playing their games, right?
Yeah, okay.
And since we don't have that many games and we don't have multiplayer, we have to keep our games interesting and exciting for as long as possible. And of course, if you talk to the people that actually play it, you can find out, okay, what do they care about? What are the parts of the game that they want more of? So for example, not to promote our work, but earlier this week that we're recording, we updated patch 2.2, which expanded the photo mode, for example, and gave car customization.
And is that the purpose, to get people to keep playing the game, or for new customers? How does that work?
A bit of both, actually. So it's always a challenge, right, to attract new people in a market where there's so many cool games to play. So you're kind of banking, at least as a community team we are, on the word of mouth, right? You want people to play it, you want them to talk to their friends about how cool it is, you want them to post pictures from the photo mode, maybe cheese.
Yeah, cheese. It's time for cheese.
Oh, cheese. So you do want to, of course, attract new people. But as a community team, we're also just happy bringing old players back, right? So it's a bit of a balance.
Because the games are almost like you can play them forever, and you still find something new to do. So
I mean, we do have people that just replay them over and over again. We do have a lot of people asking for just small side quests. Okay, wait, you want me like this?
It's okay, it's the same.
Oh,
just
like this? Okay.
Find pieces, it's fine.
Cool. We do have people asking sometimes if they can just... if they can just drive around the city, if we can just add smaller quests. And of course, that's a bit of a tricky thing, right? Because we do have to focus on new games as well. But we're trying to find a balance here. So that they are happy with what they already paid money for while they're waiting for the next thing.
And how much do you listen to the community? I mean, is it...
all much.
I mean, it's an interesting thing, because when you design a game, you're more designing it blind, right? You don't know what people are going to expect. Now, then you release it, and of course, we'll come back to the story of the release of Cyberpunk. But you release it, and then all of a sudden, it's like everyone has an opinion about it, right? So filtering all that opinion becomes, a very hard work, right?
I think it's important. So first of all, what makes it easier is that we're all very hardcore gamers as well. So no one in our team doesn't know what people want. Of course, every person that plays video games is different, and everyone has different preferences. But we did have a quite good understanding of what will hit with people, what will be popular, what do they care about, right? Because we do play games ourselves, and we talk about them a lot, because I also think to be successful in community management, you have to know games, and you have to be part of communities ideally as well, right? That being said, we try to listen a lot. Sometimes it's not possible, because sometimes people ask for things that exclude each other or exclude themselves, right? Because person A wants X and person B wants Y, and only one of the two is possible. And sometimes also the things people ask for go against the vision of our developers. And that's where we come in and say, okay, we're excited that you care this much, but it's not the vision of our devs, and this is a line we don't want to cross. So then it's about how do we communicate this. And then if we have feedback, we track it a lot, we track it very actively, and then we try to find out, okay, is this just one person with 20 accounts that spams the same request every day? Or is this something...
Does it go into that detail?
I mean, you can kind of recognize if something is the same, just repeated and spammed over and over again, right? So we do go into detail. Of course, now we're a bit more versed with Cyberpunk as well, because now we know the community better, because it's a different thing doing it originally when you launch versus 4 years in, because we just had our 4-year anniversary, right?
And how much of it is statistics? Like, okay, this feature has been requested 500 times, or more like qualitative? I
mean, that's an annoying answer, both. So I think it's mostly our tech support team that tracks tickets. So they actually track how many people complain, how many unique players send reports about this, how many people are outraged enough to send a ticket to tech support, right? Because usually you don't go that far if you don't really care about it. And in our case, we do a lot of work manually, which is very exhausting, but we believe it's important to not let a tool read through everything, but also have our own touch, right? because we can read irony, we can read sarcasm, we can read like the tone of the message. And then it's a lot of qualitative work as well. And to give you an example, there's something that we pushed through which, I mean, there's big things and small things. I will give you a small thing. Okay. Speaking of small things.
Okay. It's good. Yeah.
Good. We pushed for a walking button in Cyberpunk because there was no walking button, so you could only run.
Okay.
And we said, okay, no one is sending a ticket to tech support to have a walking button, you know, because no one cares that much. But our role-playing community, because a lot of people from the Cyberpunk community want to do role-playing in the game, they talked about it on social media and in forums and on Reddit, and they said, oh, I wish I could walk. I wish I could walk because it feels like
more
immersion breaking to not be
yeah.
able to walk with a button press and always have to simulate. And we talked to our devs, and at the beginning they were like, why do people care? Why do they care about this? And then we said, well, they really do care. Let's make this work. And it was only qualitative. It was only, we read it from many people, and the few that cared, they cared a lot. And when we changed it, let me throw it as well. And when we
just maybe half of it.
Half of it?
Yeah.
Okay. And when we announced it in the patch notes, people were delighted. Similarly, V was sleeping on the bed wrong. Like they had a bed and they lay on it full clothing, like no human would ever sleep. And when we fixed that, people screamed about this as the main thing in the patch notes. So sometimes you also just need a nose for community. Yeah.
That's very interesting because, you know, the idea of, you know, not only the community, but you know, you as a team impacting development so much is fascinating. You know?
It's really a privileged position. That's why I don't know how it is in every company, right? I can't say every community manager has this impact. I know that we do, and I'm very lucky. And for example, we also had a radio station. So if you played Phantom Liberty, there's a radio called 89.7 Growl FM, and that is the result from a contest that we did. So we did a community contest. It took us 2 years, this whole project. Because we said our audience is really into music, and wouldn't it be cool if they had their music in the game? Wouldn't that be incredible, right? And so at the beginning, we talked to our lawyers, and they said, I mean, they were very into it, but they said, you know that music law is very complicated. And then we started figuring this out, and people love it. Our composer was in the beginning skeptical because, you know, he has had a vision, rightfully so.
Of course.
And he was like, oh, will we really find 14 tracks, 15 tracks that fit this vision? And now he is on camera and he said, it's my favorite radio station in Cyberpunk.
That's pretty cool.
Right? That's really cool, and the community loves it as well, because if you go on the YouTube videos, they all say it's so cool that they have the space for themselves, basically, right? And we, at Gamescom this year, so in August, we actually invited one of them to perform at our community event, so it was the inception of the inception.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really fun. It's really cool. Cool.
All right, so whilst we keep discussing this and we go back to the main topic, I'll ask if you can put some, just a fine, thin...
Very fine?
Of bechamel at the end of this.
Do you have a spoon or something? I
will provide you with a spoon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Here it is.
Thank you.
And you know, interestingly enough, you know, you went through a lot of big challenges, right?
You could say so.
Because and that's, you know, it's also part of the, you know, fascination of it, right? You know, you can't expect that community management is always going to be an easy.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that nothing shocks me now.
Right? Like you can definitely say that.
If you go through one release like Cyberpunk, with all the highs and lows, because also on the highs it went very high. And then on the lows it went very difficult and very painful, but you do it once and
so
then you become very chill.
Tell us a bit about it. So you went through this where it's launching, you know, and you know everyone's very excited about it. And you know, what were the worries and how did you manage that? You know.
Yes, I mean, of course, there's some things that I can't talk about because, you know.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That we never talked about it, but basically the way it worked is that we didn't know that the issues would be this way when the release happened.
Okay.
Because also for a purely statistical reason that when you have a lot of players, which we gratefully do have, you cannot test the game as much as day one on a release like this, right? So there will always be issues that you didn't see coming. And in our case, it started because we had the midnight release on PlayStation and the simultaneous release on PC. And our Asian teams messaged us and said, guys, actually, it's not going as great as we thought.
Okay.
So I mean, it sucks for them, was good for us that we had some hours of lead-up time to think about, what do we do?
Yeah.
And then, of course, it was very painful because also remember, it wasn't the pandemic, right? So imagine you work on a game for years and then you can't launch it with people and then it goes bad. And you sit at home alone, like drinking your wine, not nice. So we were at first just trying to track, okay, what actually happened, right? And what can we do? And then very quickly we started saying, okay, we have to, of course, tech support did most of the heavy lifting in this case, but community team, we have to do heat mapping. We have to figure out what is really important to fix. Because
you have to keep calm in these moments, right?
Yeah, and that's actually quite difficult. So in our case, we did have spreadsheets are your best friends in this case. So we did track what issues are reported, by how many, in which markets, and how heavily do people feel about it.
Okay.
Right? Because there's some issues that if people...
Okay, so what we'll do now was to talk about this. I'll pour the
and
filling
I roll
and you
it.
roll it. Okay?
Just roll like just like
roll
this.
It, yeah.
Okay. So because some things, you know, when you have a lot of issues that at once, maybe something is reported by a lot of people, but whether it's fixed or not, is it enough?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Whether it's fixed or not will not impact their game experience like tremendously. Whereas some things, if it's like a blocker to game progress, it's really upsetting, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we just quote unquote started tracking issues, and also issues were different in different places, right? So for example, Germany is very heavy on PC, so our market had different issues than, let's say, Italy, that's very heavy on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Right, so that's why we also did the tracking across our different markets that we support with our community team and our PR team to figure out maybe there's something that if you only focus on English-speaking channels, you wouldn't even find.
Okay.
And then you had to keep calm. Then a lot of more heavy lifting was done by our PR team because they had to also figure out, okay, how do we address this with media? How do we tackle this? They did a lot of hard work. Also remember, it was over Christmas. There's lots of great factors playing in our favor here. And then we ended up with a video of our former CEO, Marcin Iwinski, where he acknowledged that we messed up. Because sometimes there's nothing you can do, right? Sometimes you just have to acknowledge that. And then we went quiet, which was not welcomed by everyone, and was also, if you're working for the community, not something you always like doing, because we like talking to people. But we made the decision as a company, including, like, we supported this, right? That we say, okay, let's fix it. Let's stop talking, let's just do.
Work and fix it.
Let's just show that we care. And then we started with the devs. The devs did 99% of the work, and then we helped them figure out, okay, what's priorities, what's important. And I don't remember, because this is a trauma that I buried very deep, I don't remember how long this phase went that we didn't speak. Because then we also had a hack that I will not go into detail about, but there was a hack of our company, so it was a lot of stuff. Is enough?
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, and then we started rolling out patch after patch after patch, and I think things started turning around in the sentiment around patch 1.5.
Okay.
And then we also had Edge Runners, our anime, which helped quite a bit to bring new people in, which was great with Studio Trigger. And I think that was the moment that things started shifting, and then interestingly enough, people came back and said, actually I always liked Cyberpunk, but I didn't dare say it because then people would attack me, because it developed this dynamic where it was cool to hate on us, and we did deserve blame, right? I'm not saying we didn't, but it developed this, it's cool to hate. So even people that didn't play it were negative about it. So then people started coming around and saying, actually, I liked it. And then, God, last year, together with Phantom Liberty, we released patch 2.0. Just like my sum or your sum? Like
just
heavy?
the
Okay,
German
good.
sum.
Oh, German sum. So last year, together with our expansion, we also, which was pay for playing, right, buy to play, we also released a free update 2.0, which was a major systems overhaul, lots of new content, and we said this for free for everyone.
Yeah.
This is it, thank you. And that worked.
Yeah.
That's the TIDR 2-minute version.
No, that's great. Yeah. You brought us through the pain, and that was interesting.
I spared you a lot of the pain.
I know. So we're gonna put in this in the oven, and I'll let you do it.
Oh yes.
So we can open the bottle of wine in the meantime.
Oh yes. Nice. Yeah, so there was a lot of pain, but what I will say is that if you have a good team, it's not that painful. It is painful, but it's okay,
Was there a moment in the process, leading to now, that you started saying, we shall celebrate because we turned this around?
Phantom Liberty. Phantom Liberty was the one where we actually also were in the office. Not all of us, but I think other Europeans were in the office because we could. And we launched it in person, and that was actually really cool. And you're never done, right? We're still patching it, so we're still fixing it, we're still bringing stuff, but I think that was the moment where we were like, okay, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, please don't make me open this because my apartment has on the ceiling spatters of wine from a wine bottle opened with too much passion but too little skill. So.
Out of curiosity,
yes.
you're not only Cyberpunk, so there's the
all,
TV shows.
Every IP that we do, it's one team. So our community.
Mobile.
We do have. We had mobile projects in the past, Witcher, Monster Slayer. We also had Gwent, which we sadly had to sunset. I mean, we didn't sunset it, but community supporting it now, which was our multiplayer game on mobile as well, mobile and PC. And of course, we have Witcher, and we have Thronebreaker, and we have Cyberpunk, and we have the anime.
It's quite a lot of stuff.
Quite a lot of stuff.
Because
and
you think it's only one game. No, it's not only one game.
It's not only one game, and even if they're big enough, they don't feel like one. And we also announced, I mean, obviously I can't go into detail, but we announced already that we have more games in the work, right? So it's not boring.
It is not. It is not. Well, congratulations, Carolin, for all you do, and for bringing, I think, a different attitude to community, which is, I think, a really interesting angle.
Thank you. Cheers.
So it will have to cook about 20 minutes. So we'll leave it in the oven for 20 minutes, and we'll be back in a moment.
Cool.
Okay, Carolin, we're ready with the Cannelloni, but there's another big topic I wanted to sort of cover, which is events. And events, interestingly enough, is part of community for you guys, which is again another difference. So if you can tell us a bit more about how collect the Cannelloni.
Yes. So we do have an events team as well, and it depends a bit on what the purpose is for the event, how big it will be. So we do have very different scales of events we do. So sometimes we do small community gatherings, like in a bar in Warsaw with 30 people that love The Witcher, and you just go.
Okay.
And that's.
And you do that? That's
No, I mean that's not me. That's our team in Warsaw. No, our team in Warsaw is doing that.
Okay.
Or, for example, this coming weekend, my Spanish community manager is throwing a Witcher masquerade ball in Barcelona for 300 people. And that's on her, and she has support from one person of the events team, but it was her coming up, with the budget and the concept and the whole, the idea, and working with the partners, and events is then there to support her. And then we did, for example, when I was still handling Germany, we called it the Samurai Tour, because we have a band in the game that's called Samurai. And we toured Germany, Austria, and Switzerland to go into opera halls and theaters. And we played live on stage with a developer, and we filled like the whole room. And that was cool. So I was on stage. My mom saw me work, and she said, "Oh, now I know what you do." And now she thinks my job is just being on stage and talking to people.
Now she thinks that you now cook as well for a job.
Yes, hi. So that's something that we organized on our like PR and community level, because we said, okay, we bring the game to you, because not everyone can afford to go to Gamescom or maybe to Milan Games Week, right? So we said we bring the game to them. And then the idea was so nice that for Phantom Liberty we did this, but on the global level. So we had the Phantom Liberty tour, and we had an event in Brazil, and we had one in Japan, and one in Seoul, and one at Gamescom. And that was a community team together with our events team.
One of the things you were saying earlier, which is interesting, is the feedback you get from online people is very different from what you get in real life. So. Yes. Does it help you to stay in touch with the people?
I love nothing more than in-person events. We also did Luca Comics and Games. I think we haven't said that actually. We said that before. And it was fantastic because it's a different connection. But also you will have a good experience for people, and then they will go and tell their friends about it. And it's kind of spreading a good vibe. Which online is not that easy to do sometimes, right?
No, it's very, very hard.
And my favorite thing at events is that the way we invite is also we want to make sure everyone feels welcome, right? So we always invite some people that has already been there and new people as well. And I have actually had one person that was very alone and never had friends, and we invited him. I talked to him. I was like, I will not force you. I will take you and I will force you to talk to people. And now he's attending all of our events, has friends in the community, is now actually involving other people in the community. Right, and this is kind of paying it forward, and that's my favorite thing about it.
Really cool. Congratulations, Carolin.
Thank you.
Well, we just cooked the least futuristic Italian recipe. I guess it's it's more traditional than this you can't get, but
it's older than me for sure.
But we're gonna have this taste, and thanks for joining us. It was great to have you and telling us all these stories about stress and redemption.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Cool. Cheers.